I became the first Indian origin person, in fact, the Asian origin person to win an election in Japan. Only the fifth non-Japanese person in Japan to win an election. I joined bureaucracy and now it's my fourth year working as a gadgetted civil services officer in Japan. In my job, I have multiple roles, like I head the educational IT department of a prefecture, which is as good as a state in India. I also work as a principal of a public school. Otherwise, Japan has been a very, very secret country, is what I believe. Even today, I don't think tourists have so much information about Japan. So I normally say, like, Japan has a different face value and a different place value, because people who come here as tourists or people who live here for a short while, they don't understand the exact things about Japan. They are like, I decided to go into politics to like play a role to make people aware about the lives of the foreigners and how exactly foreigners and the Japanese can gel together. What are the initiatives the government should take in? That was my first thought about going into politics, because I feel Japan is anyway shrinking in terms of population, and Japan anyway needs foreigners. Increasing foreigners is not going to be there is no stopping for it. So foreigners are going to increase, and if that is going to happen, not every person in Japan is rich. Almost 60-70% of Japanese people, they live around the poverty line in Japan. I want to create opportunities for students, those who don't have their own funds to go and study overseas.
Imagine moving to a new country as unique as Japan, learning the language, adapting to the culture, and then entering politics. Well, that is something which is completely unheard of. But I guess there are unicorns. Well, today's guest did not just adapt to the new culture, but he actually made history. Today we have a conversation with Mr. Yogi Puranik, who is the first Asian origin MLA. We learn from his journey of transition from IT and banking into the Japan politics. Yogi-san, welcome on the show. So if you could please give us a brief introduction about yourself, about your journey so far.
My full name is Yogendra Puranik, but people normally know me by the name of Yogi. I was born in a very simple village in the western side of India, near in the suburbs of Mumbai. That is where I got my basic education until 10th. And then from there, we moved out to Pune, where I did my further education, getting my master's in economics and learning Japanese, learning IT. So doing a lot of things at the same time. And then everything that coming together, it worked as a package. And very soon, in fact, even before I graduated from the university, I got an offer from the IT company and I started working in IT. Soon after that, I received scholarships from the Japanese government, and I got opportunity to study and research in Japan. Later also a couple of scholarships to study in China and then research in France and all. But all in all, since 2001, I settled down in Japan, working here initially in the IT industry for almost 9 years. Then I moved out to banking industry for 10 years. And in both the industries, I think I did well. On the IT side, I rose up to the president's position for a global company, their Japan operations. And then even in Japanese bank, I rose to the directorial level. After that, like while doing that, I was also doing some social work, and ultimately it connected to my political foray. And in 2019, I won my first election in Japan. Of course, I was like, I'm not going to win it, but then it happened and I won the election, and then the news was like boof, kind of. So I became the first Indian origin person, in fact, the Asian origin person to win an election in Japan. Only the fifth non-Japanese person in Japan to win an election. And then I worked in politics for 3 years. But then after that, I got an opportunity to appear for the civil services examination in Japan. So I left politics, I joined bureaucracy, and now it's my fourth year working as a gadgeted civil services officer in Japan. In my job, I have multiple roles, like I head the educational IT department of a prefecture, which is as good as a state in India. I also work as a principal of a public school, which is again first kind of thing for a foreigner living in Japan. So first foreign origin public school principal in Japan. So I think the journey in Japan was incredible, but it had its own other sides of the mirror, which probably we'll talk in the show later on.
You have such an amazing career. You have a very multicultural experience. You've worked, in China, you mentioned, then you moved to Japan. So you of course mentioned the scholarship. But moving to Japan, what was that trigger? Were you always curious about Japan? Was this always on the cards? How did this materialize?
Well, honestly speaking, now since I'm also an educator and I do a lot of research in education, I am able to ponder onto my those days from a different perspective now. Probably being able to go a bit deep. And when I look back into my student days, like in my high school or in my during my university, I think we had a very simple life, and not even our teachers or our parents told us that they expected us to do something wow kind of things, go overseas, win an Olympic medal kind of. Life was quite simple, I think. And I personally focused on doing whatever came my way, be it my uh, say study of physics or mathematics or later economics, or be it Japanese or IT. I think I did a lot of things with quite good focus. And in fact, when I got my first job, I was still I just passed out my second year of my BSc, and I asked my teacher, "Sir, they are offering me a job. Should I take it?" So my sir said, my professor that time said, "You are anyway going to work after the graduation. So if they are giving you a job now, why not?" So, you know, then even at this point, I was not at all thinking about going to Japan, despite being able uh, to be able to speak good Japanese. Only in end of 1996, when I got the scholarship to Japan, that was the first time like it came to my mind, oh, I'm going to Japan. And of course,
Okay.
everybody around was happy. So many a times there is this thing like, if you have dreams, you work towards dream. If you have passion, you work towards that passion. Honestly speaking, for me, going to Japan or coming to Japan was not a dream, but the passion of learning. It all catapulted into finally these wonderful opportunities in life.
Yeah, amazing. Such an amazing story you have. So I want to know, like, when you moved to Japan and you've moved in 1993, you mentioned, right? Japan has changed a lot. So over the years, how, according to you, has Japan changed? Has it opened up more? We'd like to know more, about Japan today versus what it was so many years back.
True. For I think across the globe, I see that subtle changes have come in each and every country, each and every community in last 30 years. Since 1995, when globalization became like a common thing, and India also went through those changes from the later half of 90s, and we see a very different India today. As I see Japan from the, say, infrastructure perspective, Japan has been almost quite the same. Now we see more high rise buildings, but I think Japan had been well done in terms of public infrastructure, or say the corporate infrastructure kind of stuff. The changes, I would say, on both sides, positive changes, negative changes. Positive changes, when I came to Japan in 1990s until 2002, everything was in Japanese. Even the station names, the bus stop names, everything was in Japanese. Only when in 2002 we had the first World Cup, that was the moment when the station names were written in English. And after the large earthquake in 2011, in fact, I think more even after that, after the floods in 2019, the government websites in Japan have been translated to English. So that change is happening. And when I'm saying like there is a introduction of English websites or English information, it means like now the foreigners can get more information about Japan. Otherwise, Japan has been a very, very secret country, is what I believe. Even today, I don't think tourists have so much information about Japan. So I normally say like Japan has a different face value and a different place value, because people who come here as tourists or people who live here for a short while, they don't understand the exact things about Japan. They are like dreamy things about Japan is what they see. But when you stay here longer, then you come across the negative sides of it. which is about the what you can say, the low levels of diversity and inclusion. That's one issue. And the another thing is about the acceptance of the immigration, where we think like the I personally see like the norms of the immigration are getting stricter and stricter. And for honestly speaking, educated individuals, I see like low educated individuals, the technical people and all, they are getting quite easy entries. So sometimes we feel that. And in terms of DNI, diversity and inclusion, as the foreigners in Japan are increasing, I see that there is more friction between the people, between the system and the people. As Japan has not done well in terms of setting up the rules about what you can say, the getting foreigners inside. And hence, there have been some drawbacks in the whole system, which has allowed not so good people to also come in Japan and create problems. So that has been one of the failure points of Japanese immigration, I believe. And in fact, the good community has to pay for it. Wow.
It's really great how beautifully you have summarized the changes that have happened in Japan and the face value and the place value, the comment that you made. Really great. Let's dive deep into, the career transition that you have made. So you worked in IT, banking, and then politics. So I want to know, what was that trigger? What was that inspiration for you to join politics and, go forward and build a career there?
True. Amazing. I since the best part of my journey in Japan was that I knew good level of Japanese. I have been always a very good speaker of Japanese language since the time I came to Japan and since the time I started working in Japan. So be it IT or be it banking, I was fortunate to work in good projects, difficult projects, which were actually also valuable for my Japanese counterparts. Since I could deliver results, I have driven respect in my organizations, and that is why I have risen up the ladders. But having said that, like I also faced discrimination in the office. I also faced sometimes people would say nasty things. But on the contrary, like my some of my Japanese colleagues, they would actually safeguard me. I have seen that thing, and I'm really thankful to those kind of people. Even in the community, it's the same thing. Like there are people who really disturb you. So many times when I'm walking on the road, some unknown person would come in and say, "You are taking away our jobs." So I say, "How? Are you going to do my job?" So it's not actually. So those kind of instances have been there. So initial my 4 5 years, I was just within me. I was living a life of an individual. But then by 2005, like I started working in Japan around 2001. By 2005, I realized that people who don't understand Japanese, they have a lot of issues in working and living. So day to day life as well as corporate life, they have a lot of issues. And then I started actually helping people. So my that kind of social activity started around 2005 2006. And unfortunately, from 2008, I was on Japanese televisions. My first interview, solo interview on Japanese television was in 2008. They started picking up my work. So, over the years, I realized that the Japanese system is not changing. Like, although foreigners are increasing, the overall Japanese system, the understanding of the system about the foreigners in Japan has not increased anyway. So the problems are the way they have been there for like since 5 years back or 10 years back. So the problems were not getting solved. Nursing care of our children, be it the education of our children, be it the say social issues like community issues with the people around. Things were absolutely not changing. And then in 2017, it happened. So, like one Japanese politician and few of our Indian businessmen, they talked about creating a little India in Japan. And I personally thought that it was too early to do that because the diversity and inclusion is not still has not developed in Japan. So that was one of the turning points. I decided to go into politics to like play a role to make people aware about the lives of the foreigners and how exactly foreigners and the Japanese can gel together. What are the initiatives the government should take in? That was my first thought about going into politics.
Amazing. Such an amazing and incredible journey you have, because I personally believe that it takes a lot of resilience to break through those barriers and, the biases and the discrimination that you mentioned, and especially in a country which is as unique and as homogenous as Japan. So kudos to you. You have actually achieved something that clearly no one has or very few people might have ever thought of doing. So you were talking about some initiatives and the work that you did at the government level. So if you could just talk to us about one or two initiatives or issues that you focused on and the projects that you worked during your tenure.
Right. As a politician, my mandate was mainly focused around the diversity and inclusion first. And see, about when we talk about inclusion, it's not about just creating rules or some knowledge assets only for the foreigner community, but it also has to be done for the Japanese community, and they also need to know that foreigners come from a different background. And even today, like after I have lived in Japan for 25 years, I speak out that I cannot be 100% Japanese. I cannot live like a Japanese. It's not possible because I have a DNA. I was grown up in a certain environment, in a certain background. My thought process is aligned to that thing. Of course, in the last 25 years, I have changed so much. I have imitated the Japanese people so much, but it cannot be 100%. So that is what I started talking about in the assembly. Then the second point I told them, like, is that they should not actually put all the foreigners into one bucket. Every time any problem arrives or we have any issue, it has to be analyzed from a 2D perspective or maybe a 3D perspective. Because in the same situation, an Indian will behave different, a Chinese will behave different, an American will behave different, and their expectations will be also different. So that was the second point. I very loudly always actually spoke in the assembly that not even just foreigners, but even for the Japanese, whenever we are solving issues for the people, we have to think about the issues from a 2D or 3D perspective. We have to look at the gamut of citizenships that whom we are addressing. It could be even for the Japanese, it could be a small child, it could be a teenager, it could be an adult. The way the problem they see will be different. The way they will face the problem will be different. The outcome will be different. So, and third thing, my biggest focus was on education because I feel Japan is anyway shrinking in terms of population, and Japan anyway needs foreigners. Increasing foreigners is not going to be there is no stopping for that. So foreigners are going to increase, and if that is going to happen, see, today Japan's education is public education is totally Japanese language oriented. There is no second language in it, and the curriculum is highly Japan oriented. So, and those foreigners who cannot go to, say, international schools, which are anyway very few in numbers and which are very expensive, though those foreigners are forced to go to these Japanese public schools, and they do not at all amalgamate. They don't at all get along in the school so well. I have seen, like, normally people go, they attend the school for a couple of years and then leave. So it's very difficult to actually get along with the Japanese students in the schools or with the whole education system itself. Plus, not all foreigners are coming to Japan from a long term perspective. So many of them, they come here, they work for maybe, say, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and they go back. So if their kids get educated in the Japanese education system, they are unable to, like, settle down in the education system of other countries. And at the same time, in the Japanese education, what I'm seeing is there is again no diversity and inclusion component. There is no global component, because of which the newer generations of Japan, they won't be able to face the fierce competition from overseas. So it's a loss for foreigners as well as it's a loss for the Japanese. So that was the point I put forward. And even today, I keep talking as a bureaucrat because I'm working in the education department now. And so I keep talking every time I'm giving a seminar that we have to have a new curriculum, which will adopt the foreigner students into the system and which will also give an international perspective to the Japanese kids, which is going to work for the betterment of Japan.
So I want to know from you regarding Japan and India partnership. So there are so many articles we keep seeing about initiatives that the government takes. Are there any one or two initiatives or partnership programs or something that you'd like to talk about? Because surely you have more information and insight about what's happening on the ground today.
Say now I'm in education department, so one is professional exchange, the other is the student exchange, third could be the cultural exchange. All these departments, in all these departments, the partnership has been going a bit slower, kind of. Well, it can be slow, and a slower relationship actually becomes stronger over the time. We don't need to push the accelerator so hard. We can go slow, but somehow we have to bring in some good frameworks to make that partnership a solid one. Otherwise, what happens if the framework is loose, cut loose, then the wrong elements come in and they do whatever they want, and then it becomes a sour relationship. We have to create some frameworks within which good relationships, good partnerships will happen. Personally, today I'm working on a student exchange partnerships, kind of, wherein I want to create opportunities for students, those who don't have their own funds to go and study overseas. And when we were talking about the place value of Japan, let me, like, so many people, they're shocked when I say, like, not every person in Japan is rich. Almost 60-70% of Japanese people, they live around the poverty line in Japan. And
Wow.
so many students in even in public schools are unable to pay their fees. And that's why from this year April, Japanese government has made education until high school free, because students don't have money to pay their high school fees. So even these students, they need opportunities. And so if we can get Indian students to Japan and Japanese students to India on a one-on-one exchange, they live in each other's houses, and that's how they cut on their expenses. I think that will create some good opportunities for student exchange partnerships. So even in terms of research, and I think some more strong university to university partnerships, campus in campus partnerships should be on the cards very soon.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. It's really insightful, and especially the statistics that you have mentioned. I want to now understand, like, what is your success mantra? What you have achieved, a lot of other things which have inspired you. So what are those things?
Great. I talk about this from a different, like, with an example from the history, recent history. And in fact, I have my biography in Japanese was published last year, January, in Japanese language. And very soon, maybe in another 3 to 4 months, we'll publish it in English. It will be a global release. So in my biography, I say Ramanujan, the great mathematician. He was an amazing mathematician. And when he went to the UK, he didn't know how to live a life in UK. He didn't know what was there in UK, and he badly failed as an immigrant. And he so badly failed in that he had to lose his life at the age of 30 to 33. We lost a great man. And today, when I see at the way people migrate to other countries, and intelligent people, scholars, when they migrate from India to overseas, I think the formula has not changed at all. It has not changed from Ramanujan's story. People go out, they don't even try to explore, find out information, get prepared for their migration. So many people coming to Japan, they absolutely don't understand Japan. So I think people don't know how to prepare themselves for migration. And that's what I think all educational institutes should start doing. It's not about just migrating from India to Japan, but it is also about migrating within India. People need to understand how to migrate, exploring about where you are going, what will be your lifestyle there, what kind of people are you going to be with, what kind of people are you going to work with, what are the rules of the game they have set, what are their basic business practices, what are their basic day-to-day life practices. Last, a few things I would just leave some key headers is that you have to develop your personality, you have to develop your soft skills. If you're going to a language oriented country, you have to have build your linguistic skills. And then the most important thing is you must need to know how to imitate, because whatever you search, whatever you find out, whatever you train yourself, the information and the training will not be complete. So you have to be watchful, you have to observe, you have to be conscious, and after that you have to imitate. Imitate the good things that the Japanese have, imitate the good things that maybe the Frenchmen will have in France, maybe the British will have in England. So you have to imitate the good things, and when you imitate their good things, they like it and they accept it. So my biggest mantra is imitation, all out of it, imitate. And Chanakya said, like, human beings learn 90% through imitation.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong, I read it somewhere.
Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing such incredible advice for all those people who are probably looking to relocate or to any country, whether it is Japan or any other country. Thank you. And it's wonderful learning from your journey today, your perspective, and such amazing insights about Japan. A lot of things I didn't know personally. Thank you so much for your time, Yogi-san. And in the description box, I will link the biography, the book that you were talking about, and any other resources for our people to refer to and probably reach out to you through some means.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching us till the end. I really hope that you found value in this conversation. Please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear this. I always believe that you do not have to look far for inspiration because there are so many inspiring stories all around us. Because as they say, that no one else sees the world the way you do, so no one else can tell the stories that you have. Thank you.